Welcome to Jesse's Stories, everyone. Today we have Sammie, who's a booktuber and influencer, which I'm sure you've seen her all over TikTok, on Instagram. She's everywhere, regardless. Um, Sammie, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sammie. I am a booktuber, more recently book talker, book reviewer. I'm also a bookseller at a independent bookstore in the Chicagoland area. Just for anonymity, I'm not going to name the store, but
Please don't.
yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's what I live for, as Ursula says.
Good quote. Very good quote. Ursula's awesome. Um,
Queer icon.
well, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. I actually learned that recently. I'm still learning queer culture.
It
Facts.
is the best.
So
It is never ending.
you'll what?
It's never ending.
I like queer coded. That's my favorite thing I've been learning about so far.
We'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good. I will learn from Sammie. Uh, what made you want to become an influencer in the book world?
So I've always been reading. I've always had quote unquote my nose in a book. I was always that kid that couldn't get to stop reading, but I was actually called stupid for a very long time because I couldn't read. I struggled reading, and then a certain turf got me into reading, and I had exploded from there, and I haven't put down a book since. But actually, during the pandemic, when I was living with my fiance, now wife, in her mother's basement, and we had a room just to herself, I was like, I need to start doing something. And I always kind of reviewed on Goodreads, and I started kind of filming, and then we got our own house, and I filmed more because we had our own library. And I realized there were a few big queer specific book talkers, but there were only, like, that I knew of, one or two sapphic ones, and like sapphic specific. And I don't, my content's not sapphic specific, but it's sapphic heavy. I try to represent all queer identities, but being sapphic myself, that's the one that I lean towards. And I think that's fully okay if you lean towards whatever representation you are, but obviously read all identities and cultures because you don't learn that way. But yeah, December of 2020, early January of 2021, I started like very much posting videos about book content on TikTok.
Oh, cool. Well, that's good to know. Then I've actually been following you since you started. And when I
I
first
was
got out of the cult. That's
I was
nice.
actually doing if you go back far enough, like in my TikTok account, you can see like the dog grooming videos I did before when I was in grooming school, and that's what I started with. So
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of when I would have started following you because I discovered you on TikTok when I
mhm.
was just scrolling, and then I really liked your content, so I stuck with it, and I've stuck with you for, I guess, now 4 years. So
It's
I've stuck
yeah,
with you for a pretty long time. So that says a lot about your content.
thank you. Appreciate that, but it's too kind.
Well, and your dance moves. Dances are important.
That
I'm
is
a
what
person who
people know
loves
me
dancing.
most for, is I got that's how I got quote unquote like my following blew up, is I was dancing with books, and that's what would be trending, and the algorithm was like, "Oh no, you want to try something else? Absolutely not. You have to continue to dance with books. You can't do long form content. You can't sit down and talk about a book. You have to dance, monkey, dance."
It's hilarious.
I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
"Oh, thanks."
So great. That's like me and my cult content. Now TikTok won't let me do anything but LGBTQIA cults.
You're like, "Here, you
Not
stay in
as
your little
in
box, just that."
LGBTQIA bigot cults, but Twin Flames universe, to be clear to anyone. Cults. That's all I can do. That's all it will let me. And if I try to do any of my books, I get like 30 views, 10 views, or nothing.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Jesse Stories is multi-purpose, even on TikTok and anywhere else I am. I don't care what anyone says on that. Jesse Stories. He is stories. Anyway,
I can do more than one thing, I promise.
exactly. That's
Multi-talented.
exactly how I feel. Stories are everywhere. They're in books, they're in games,
Yep,
they're your life. It's everywhere. I
absolutely.
cannot do one subject. No.
I have multiple hyperfixations, don't you understand?
Exactly. True. Pokemon, that's a story. Thank you very much. Okay, sorry. I'll totally get on a rant on that very easily.
You're fine.
But yeah, you bringing up that brought up that for me and the algorithm. Even on YouTube, it's the worst. So I'm trying to find a hashtag that stays with every video that I do interview wise so that it's consistent enough
Yeah.
for YouTube to go, yes, it's the same content.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what TikTok did. Sidelining now. I don't know what TikTok
Worse.
did with the freaking hashtags, but like now they're all out of whack. And my own hashtag, it's like you only have like so many, and I don't know what's going on. It's insane.
It is. I
I
fully
hate
agree.
social.
Well, I know with YouTube, they changed their algorithm too. So
Yeah.
now it's based off of first how many views you get like within the first couple of hours. That still plays a part. But then your niche, so you have to be specific. That's why I said I'm trying to figure out hashtags to make it seem like I'm specific without being
Mhm.
specific. Like interview, I can use that in every single one of my interviews as a hashtag. Colts, I technically tested that out with Pokemon for fun, and it does. It goes well still. They didn't
It
flag
still
me or anything
works.
for it.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to find things that work. Like when I
Mhm.
do anything like for Jesse H, their interview, I did all LGBTQIA stuff themed, and then I still stuck with Jesse's story. And then I did interview. And I went, should I do cult? No, it feels wrong. So I just didn't touch that hashtag. So it makes it hard to try to figure out how to make it work with YouTube too.
It's insane.
It is.
Truly, each form of social media, Instagram, X, oh my God, no, Twitter is X, TikTok and YouTube, they're all just, I don't know how to do it anymore. I feel old. I feel like it's rough out there, man.
It is. Instagram especially, I don't understand it. Like I can do the same posts as everyone else around me, but not get anything from it.
So fun thing, they're moving, side note again, they're moving to a subscription tiered service. So like your content, unless you're paying, it's not being seen. It's great. I'm like about to throw the towel in with Instagram.
That's so frustrating. That
Like,
explains a lot, honestly.
yeah, it's fun.
I'm not paying anyone anything. I see the little subscription button for a lot of people, including Instagram, but I ignore it and go, no thanks, I'm good.
Like, I can barely afford to live. How do you think I can like subscribe to a thing that's gonna push my content out? No. No,
Well,
thank you.
yeah, exactly. And when you're discriminated against, period, at least I personally dealt with that in my life multiple times, and even presently, one time with my job. But, anyways, we could easily go off topic on that too. But
I feel like we can go off topic on a lot of things here.
yes,
Oh.
I'm trying my best to be well focused, but I'm going to be just as bad as you.
I feel like we should just be horses with the blinders on. Like, we've got this. It's fine. We have questions in front of us. Stop it.
Yep, pretty much. Oh my gosh. Well, funny, as a child, I used to have a eye patch. Well, yeah, it was on this side to get my lazy eye left side strong.
Mhm.
That's what I thought of. So I have experience doing that.
Uh,
Maybe we should. That's actually good. Be
just
like
the
this. Hi,
it's
Sammy.
fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I'm not cry laughing. You are. All right. Let's see. I wrote a really long one that technically was part of this that I didn't read fully. Oh no, I didn't read this one. What was the book that inspired you to want to influence others in the community to read the books you love?
That's probably hard. Um, I'm gonna go with first book I ever read that I saw myself represented in. I came out quote unquote later in life. Um,
Same.
I came out when I was 23 years old, so I didn't read any queer representation until like after I came out. So there was a book called let me go through the catalog of my brain right now.
Take your time.
Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulhurst.
Fire and
Oh,
Stars.
Coulhurst. And it is a YA novel about a princess who has to marry a prince, but she ends up falling for his sister instead. It was so good, and I was like, this is the first time like I felt my like represented in a novel, and I was like, why is this not being talked about? And this came out, I think, in 2016, 2017, um, maybe earlier, but that's when I read it, and I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? Why aren't more people talking about queer books? And like I said, there were a few, and this was before TikTok. And there are so many people who were talking on Book Twitter, on BookTube before I got on there. I am not the start, nor will I be the end. Um, there are so many amazing creators out there, but that's what kind of wanted. I read that and I was like, we need to talk about more queer books, whether they be sapphic, gay, trans, non-binary, queer and disabled, queer and any other minority, queer and indigenous. Like, we needed to talk about them more. So that's the book that kind of was like, I need to talk about representation of all minorities, especially queer, especially disabled. Like, those are, and Latina, those are the ones, and Jewish, those are the ones that I am myself, and I wanted to spread the joy and word about.
I love that.
Sorry,
Like,
that was a long answer.
no, that was a good answer. That was a very good answer. I just was thinking of, for me personally, my first one was Cinderella is Dead.
Oh
Because
my
that
God.
was the first book I ever read, because I saw it on TikTok and everyone was sharing, every booktuber within the community was sharing the same exact book. And when I have to read this, I have to read
Yes.
this. And so I actually became obsessed with that author. I recently
Kaylin.
bought a Cinderella is Dead signature. I love Amanda Montell and her. I have two favorite authors, and that's it. I'm that specific. Besides Shakespeare, but Shakespeare doesn't count because Shakespeare isn't presently alive. But I have two, and I love her so much. I'm obsessed. Every time she comes out with a new book, I've pre-ordered every one of them. I'm right now reading The Vanquishers. I still need to read the second one. So there's three I haven't read of hers and one that's coming out. So it's four I
I
haven't
was
read
gonna
of
say, have you
hers.
pre-ordered Sleep Like Death?
Yes, I did.
I have
I
the arc of it
absolutely
at
did. I
home.
am obsessed with her writing, period. And just, yes, she writes beautifully. I love her voice. I love everything. Like Amanda Montell, like Cultish, I highly recommend reading that.
Mhm.
And her current one, which I still need to read, is Magical Overthinking. Um, those books are amazing. And even though she's straight, she does do well representing everyone in her books because she's linguistic. So yeah, her voice is great too, just as I always don't want to say her name wrong. My favorite author within the community, but of Cinderella is Dead. That's why I'm only
Kaylin
saying
Bayron.
thank you, because I never want to say her name wrong.
Also, I was very, very lucky to meet her last year at a convention that I help run at the store that I work at. So she is a lovely human being and just wonderful.
I would love to have her on here. She's one of my goal people to have in interview
Fantastic.
series, just like Amanda Montell is. Like I told you, only people that I know that are not stranger danger. And I know them through words and I guess social media communication.
Yeah.
Like Amanda Montell and I, we've talked.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I also know there's a certain status, even though they're both self-published authors that are well known and have gotten some. I don't know if Amanda Montell has. Kaylin Byron. I don't want to say her
Bayron.
name. Bayron. She, I think, has gotten publishing
It might
done.
be Baron. No, I think it's Bayron.
Bayron. Baron. I don't want to say it wrong.
We're gonna have a
So
fun
you
time.
see me question.
It's okay. You know what?
Okay.
Half the time my last name is said wrong and it's okay.
Well, that's why I didn't even try your last name when you first
Don't
came.
even worry about it.
I don't want to offend anyone.
It would never be offending. Like, no worries.
Okay. I can do Sammy. Sammy I can do. Virella? Virilla?
Close, yeah.
Close. Then how do you pronounce your last name?
Varela.
Virella. Yes, I was close. That's exciting. I didn't fully fail.
Um,
Okay. Sorry.
and so like we Americanized it. Like when my family is Puerto Rican, Armenian, and it's like VAA. But like and everyone's like, oh, so you're Italian. I'm like, no, I am Puerto Rican.
Yeah, see, I thought nothing of your last name. My brain, I go with no judgment, at least when I first read anything, I let you tell me. Then you need to see Nadine's interview that I did for she is queer and Armenian and fun and I love her and you should see it. That's all I can recommend. It's fun
Uh,
recommending stuff too.
because I can never stop recommending books. Have you read
Yes, go.
Queer and specifically Sapphic and Armenian, Tillian Vascuni?
Ooh.
Sorry, Bro, and her newest one, Lashava something. Oh shoot, now I can't remember. It just came out. But
I'm
Tillian
writing these
Vascuni,
down so I can add to my list. You've been literally the only person I've gone off of books that I own. You should see my Sapphic Yeah, it's huge on top of my culty books because I want to stay educated in that department too. But yeah, I have a lot. I wish I could show you how big. When we're not recording, I'll show you because it's messy, but it's a lot. Besides my Pokemon books, they're in there too. But you're the person I've literally gone off of, so that's why I'm writing as you tell me.
It's Sorry Bro was one of my favorite books last year. It was so good. It's a really good bi representation and Armenian representation.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, Nadine is Armenian and queer. She does write, but that's all I can say. There is no books out there, but she does write.
Doesn't mean you're not an author just because there's no books. It's okay.
Exactly. Thank you very much. You don't have to be published either to be an author or writer
Exactly.
because some people write forever.
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, I can
No, you're
focus.
fine.
Oh, here's a fun one that I've been looking forward to hearing what you say on this. Do you feel there is plenty of representation of queer community in the books you read?
Um, Me personally, the books that I read, yes, because I tend to read primarily queer books. But I don't think that there is enough diversity within the queer books that I read. It is usually white and queer, where there is not enough Black, Brown, Asian, disabled, Indigenous queer representation in the books. Not nearly enough because we are not like white people. I am white presenting, but still half of me is white. My mom is very white. So white and queer is the majority. It is still by far probably at least 80, maybe more percent of the market. There's not enough BIPOC and disabled Latina queer stories. There are a good handful of them and they're damn good. Excuse my language. They're
You can
very
have
good.
that language.
I didn't know where
It's
we were
just
at.
the F word and the S word on YouTube.
They're damn good.
There you go.
Like I just read Thirsty by Jas Hammonds. So flip-flapping good. It was a like if you like Euphoria or secret, well, not secret societies, but like elite society college societies for women of color and talking about pressures of drinking, of pledging society, of school, of toxic friendships and relationships. Like it was so well done. And that is women of color and sapphic and gender expression. It was so good. And it just came out. So that's one I would suggest. But there's not enough. I digress on that. There's not enough representation even within our own community. Like queer stories still, there's not enough. Even though people are always like, well, stop shoving your quote unquote lifestyle down our throats. We're not. It's just that the representation is finally becoming seen and mainstreamed. We aren't having to go to fan fiction and print out our shit like we did in like 2000 when I was in high school and well, middle school and high school when like my friends and I were printing out fanfics in our binders and or my friends and I were writing fanfics back and forth to each other and that's what we did in between class or like in classes and everything. But I think kids are much luckier than I was because a part of me always knew I was queer. I dated men until I was 21, 22, and something always just really never made sense. Like I was in love with a man for a very long time, but then I started dating women. I was like, oh yes, this is the je ne sais quoi that I was missing. Um, so there's never there not never, but I think there will become a day where we will have equality, but I don't think that day has come upon us. To
Fully
come full
agree with
circle on that question.
I love that. And I fully agree with that. That's why I read more of most of the recommendations I take from you are not of white authors. I try to go towards authors that just aren't white, period. So most of
Like,
my books are of backgrounds I honestly relate to. Like my background is mixed. Yes, I look very white.
yeah,
But I grew up in a household that spoke German and Spanish. And again, I'm mixed. I don't fully know my full background, but I know where I relate. And I relate to the non-white lifestyle, even though I come off white. I also am technically part of the disabled community too. And I don't always like using the word disabled, but I've grown a little more accustomed now to it. I like taking back the word special needs. So I like using the word special needs because of the negative. I guess, thing that's always been there in history with the word, because I like doing the feminist thing of taking the word back. So I personally like using special needs, but I will absolutely use disabled if it is too painful for some people. I absolutely will. I understand it fully and completely, but I'm a part of both of those communities, and I feel like, at least since you technically are a part of both too, that you can relate more with those that are not white because of your experience,
Mhm.
just because you are treated not part of society, period, when you are part of the disabled community or part of just the queer community, period. Both things, you are not counted as part of society because history has made it that way. So to me, seeing books and also getting advice from you on books has made a huge impact on my life of, oh my gosh, I can find characters I can actually relate to. And like, I love television when we actually have characters like Owl House, I'm obsessed with,
Same.
and Hazbin Hotel. Oh my gosh. I love both of those so much, but I
Mhm.
haven't found anything else that are close to either one of those yet.
Have you
Within
watched She-Ra and
the
the Princesses of Power?
I'm writing that down.
She-Ra is my
Princesses of Power.
jam.
Or,
She-Ra and Legend of Korra are two of my old standing favorites.
oh,
And by
I never
old, I
got
mean
into
She-Ra
that.
ended in
That's
like 2020, like during lockdown in 2020.
Legend of Korra. I've tried with that one. There's certain things, because my attention span is so short,
Mhm.
that I just can't do. Like music, I can do and can stay with it if it's good music, like Casbin Hotel. And storyline, if it keeps on changing within like 5 minutes of the story, then I can do it. Just so you get a better understanding, for me, at least story wise.
I get it. I have been off my ADHD meds for a while, and I'm just like, what can I do? Can I read? Can I do this? Do I have to do like five different things at the same time to actually focus on the one thing that I want to do?
Yeah, I get that fully. I normally have to, like, when I'm writing, I have to write multiple things. And then I have to also be having like something on my phone going on, or I can be reading at the same time. Or like when I'm reading a book, I have to be petting my cat and coming up with background noise, or having another book going at eventually some point in time. But yeah, I get it. I have to have multiple things going to just focus on the one thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Just so you know, I wrote some of these awkwardly.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Stop. I think people who are women presenting, female presenting, we are, especially at birth, have just been trained to say sorry for things that we don't need to be saying sorry for. So knock it off.
okay, I will attempt to. No guarantees. We both have equally good taste. Okay, here we go. What are you currently reading?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think I'm
It's
reading
a
like
loaded
10 things. Maybe not 10 things, at least 5 things. I'm currently reading Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, which is the finale in the duology from One Dark Window, which is a actually which is a straight romance.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
and
Plot twist.
I actually freaking love it. It's one of the best straight fantasy romances, fantasy romance subplot. Um it's dark fantasy. It's so good. Absolutely would recommend it to anyone. It has one of the coolest magic systems I've ever seen. It has like kind of tarot cards, but it's a magical card system. It's so cool, very intriguing, and I love just the realm and the world building in it. But it's very easy to get into, in my opinion. Um, I'm reading The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitase, which comes out, I think, June 11th, and it's kind of like a Indiana Jones meets a intergalactic space art thief who is also at the brink of having to save her friend who is a alien species on the brink of extinction, and pretty much Earth's access to the like entire galaxy and being able to travel through space. So like you can either save the alien species or save galactic travel in Earth. So that's like that. That comes out June 11th and is really good. So I'm about 100 pages into that.
Okay.
I'm listening to The Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender, which is polyamorous, and it is YA. It's about three alchemists, a really cool magical world. I'm only on like chapter 2. It's for my own book club. Um,
Oh yeah, you have one. We need to
yeah.
so promote that a lot.
It's called Pause Pages and Brews on the app Fable. You can find it on there. It's pretty cool. We read BIPOC, queer, and minority voices every month. We pick one indie book to vote from, and then 3 either sci-fi, fantasy, romance, and YA choices. So that's my book club. But yeah, Infinity Alchemist was our choice by Case and Calendar. And that's pretty good so far. And then I'm also listening to I have like too many. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Blood at the
good.
Root by Ladarian Williams, which is about a young boy whose mom mysteriously disappears, and on the exact same night she disappears, he comes into his magical powers, goes through the foster care system, and then years later finds out that his mom and the answers he's looking for may be found at a HBCU for the magically inclined in the South. So it's pretty much the She Who Shall Not Be Named series for the young, black, and magical. And it's so beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's
Mhm.
awesome. I love that.
Not queer, but still very good and still very necessary.
Oh, yeah. And it's what you're currently reading. That's all that matters.
So, sorry, 5 things I'm
Uh-huh.
currently
I think
listening.
we've made it 3. I think you have 2 more to go. Or
Hold
did
on.
I lose count? I might have lost
Two
count.
Twisted Crowns, Yumi Katas, the Stardust Grail, Boycott book,
Okay,
um,
4.
Infinity Alchemist,
Okay, then I
and
missed.
The Root.
Okay,
5.
you got them all. Okay,
You
just
should
making
stop.
sure. All right. Let's see. Do you have a favorite author or authors? So multiple authors right now.
Oh my gosh, that again, loaded flip-flapping question. Um, I One of my favorite authors, 2 of my favorite authors of all time, um, are Samantha Shannon, Pride of the Orange Tree, and The Bone Season.
Okay.
She is a powerhouse in fantasy and will probably go down as one of the greatest fantasy writers of this generation, in my opinion. Freaking phenomenal. Love her. Recommend her all the time. And then also Heather Walter, the author of Malice and Misrule, which is a queer retelling of the origin of Maleficent, where she falls in love with Aurora. One of my favorite books.
So
Her
good.
newest one comes out in August. It's called Crimson Crown, and that is the rise of the evil queen from Snow White, where it's witches, and it also has historical tidbits and like the things that happened to Anne Boleyn. So like if you know the Tudors really well, you'll pick up like, oh my gosh, this happened to Anne, this happened to Anne, and like they're like staples of what happened to Anne Boleyn and King Henry VIII mixed in with that story. It's so good. The world building's phenomenal. The witches, Snow White, like it's so cool. It is my favorite book of the year. And then I love Meryl Wilson and Ashley Herring Blake. Those are 2 of my favorite romance authors. I also do love Chensia C. Higgins. I have too many favorites. You can
They're
all
all very good. I actually have read at least Malice. I've read that one. I did it listening on wow. I listened to the audiobook. I cannot
Mhm.
think right now of what I listened to it on. Audible. It was Audible. I listened to it on Audible, but that was a recommendation from you that I originally took. And then I saw the second one, which I haven't listened to yet, but I own it. So I still need to listen to the second one because I'm obsessed with fairy tales. Like
Mhm.
literally, I went to a college class of just learning the history of fairy tales and fairy tales around the world. So I am a total geek and obsessed with fairy tales. So if it's sapphic or anything within the community that is fairy tale, I'm there. I will read it. I know I will read it.
Amazing. Same here. I think I have a few TikToks that are all just sapphic fairy tales. So
So much. Like I've only read like straight fairy tales because that's what I grew up reading obsessively, and I know them all by heart and I know their history by heart, but I don't have the history or the knowledge of these, so it makes it brand new and great and exciting and relatable. The
I
other
love.
one's not really that relatable, but it's
If you
just exciting.
Ben Alderson writes some really they're spicy.
That's fine.
uh gay fairy tale retelling. So like Lord of Eternal Night is a Beauty and the Beast vampire retelling, which in a vampire retelling. Alpha of Immortal Flesh is like a Red Riding Hood retelling. They're so good.
I've started actually, you'll be the first to get it of knowing now. I have been rewriting at least retelling a Beauty and the Beast, but I'm not going to say what the twist is or anything. But it is within the community. But I did my own little obsessive twist because I love the story idea. I don't love the original back in the day why it was written, since it technically is Stockholm Syndrome. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that it eventually grew into over time, which is beauty from within, not outside. But yeah, I did start writing that on top of my own sapphic novel I've been working on, which is YA. It's
Amazing.
yeah, that one I hope to come out near the same time as my memoir, so I'm trying to write them both at the same time. But yeah, it will be my first almost adult book besides my poetry book. But yeah, otherwise it's children's books.
Whatever floats your boat is amazing.
Well, thank you. I write in every category, just like as you can tell. Interviews in every category. Stories, just re-putting that out there. But our next is, oh, do you have a favorite line or lines of any of the books you read? If you don't, that's okay too.
Probably my most recent one that I can think of would probably be From the Stardust Grail, by Yumi Kitase. And it's the you can't live in the universe without leaving a footprint. And it talks about like the inner workings of this book are so good. And Yumi just writes these beautiful stories. This is her second novel. But her debut, like as well as being a thriller and in it and being in space, it is about the environment, it is about the human condition, and it's just it talks about that constantly. And I think it just speaks to like us as human beings, like even though we think we don't matter, our being like not that we don't matter, but that our existence is so small, you do leave a footprint no matter what, even no matter how small it is, no matter how large it is, like you were here. And that's why I liked it so much.
I like that a lot too. Wow. Making me want to read the book. A lot of your books are long, to be fair. I have a
This
short
one
attention
is it clocks in a little over 300, so it's not too bad.
Thank goodness. Okay. Because I tend to go towards the ones that you recommend that are within the like 200, 300 range because I am a slow reader, fun fact.
Okay.
But so I go towards more of like young adults or comics. I do have a lot of comics. Like I can't think of every one of them, but everyone I've read, like the authors that did The Walking Dead, they chose to do a sapphic story.
Clementine?
Thank you, yes. And I've read both of them so far, and there's a third one apparently coming out too, and
Yeah.
I want to wait for that one to come out first and read it before I do a review on my channel of all three. So I want to be able to review all three, not just two.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, that's a really good series. I highly recommend that to anyone. Like I read through it within 2 days, which says a lot for me. Some of them might take longer.
The
But
art is by Tilly Walden, and I love, love, love her stuff. So I've wanted to read it.
so good. Highly recommend it. Like it kept my attention, like to the point that I wanted to go back and read. And then I went, why isn't there a second one? And then when I went back on Amazon, because that's where I've been buying them, it showed, oh, there's a second one coming. And I went, I'm pre-ordering right now. And I actually follow her. There's certain people like I follow, like Dr. Lalich. I follow her. She is within the culty realm of, she is the expert of cults and has named Twin Flames Universe a cult. So therefore it's a cult. But yeah, like anything hers, of Tilly's, of I'm trying to think of who else I follow. I follow a lot of Sapphic, but more on the comic side. Besides Kaylin Byron, I followed her for Cinderella is Dead.
I mean, how
That's
can
how
you
long.
not though?
Oh my gosh, yes, that's my favorite ever. I've really liked her take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I
That
did
was a
not read that one.
cool. I highly recommend it, especially if you like Broadway, because it still has that feel in her writing. She definitely switches the tone of
Okay.
her normal tone, and you're with more male characters. It's a gay book, but it's really well written. And I've seen the Broadway play of Jekyll and Hyde, and I've read the original Jekyll and Hyde. So reading hers, it's her baby. It's amazing. Wow. Okay. I could talk about that writing forever,
That's
but
okay. She writes very well.
she does, and she can change her voice, which is beautiful. That's something, a personal goal of mine, is changing my voice in my writing. So that's why I love her so much, because she does what I want to do. I don't know
Badass.
if I'm there, but I would love to do that myself too.
I bet you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Since I'm doing children's, young adult, I guess memoir poetry, because when people ask me in my own interviews what I write
Mhm.
everything. So
I think that's an amazing talent. Like, not everyone can do that.
thank you. I appreciate it. It's harder to market, but
You have to be your own marketer all the time.
oh yes. But at least I'm technically only in one niche.
Yeah, there you go.
Technically, it just comes off straight with some of my books, but I'm definitely not straight, and I don't write straight. That's the only thing I don't like about my other children's series, is that I come off straight and then people go, "Oh, wait."
Oh,
That's it. Criticism for myself on that. Okay. Our next question. I'm getting lost.
you're good.
Oh, how long? Well, you've already done this question. I don't need to
That's
ask it.
no
I'm gonna
worries.
go to your dog's names. It was a question of how long you've been a booktuber influencer.
Ah,
You
um,
technically did that already.
I did. I did a 2-for-1 earlier, so
You did. You did it
hey,
really well too.
my dogs. I have 2 babies. One that who's a pandemic baby. Her name's
Oh,
Ellie. And she is named after Ellie from The Last of Us.
I figured.
Um, so that's Ellie. She's a Yorkie something mix, and she's a love. I freaking love both these dogs. Um, and then Yoshi, who's a little crackhead,
Oh, that's so
and obviously named
adorable.
after Yoshi from Mario. So my wife and I we are dinks. We are dual income, no kids.
Love that. That's the best
Um,
ever.
just dogs who take up all of our income. So we game a lot. We watch movies. We have Legos all over the house. We have a library. Library. Let me try and actually enunciate my words.
It's okay if you don't.
And so that's how we spend most of our time. And we game together. We, watch movies together. I love spending my time with her. She's my best friend. I digress. uh, so we named our dogs after, I got Ellie because we both love The Last of Us. It's both one of our favorite games of all time, especially part 2. I'm very excited for the second season of the show. And then Jesse, just love my Jesse, um, loves Mario, and she grew up playing that. I did not really grow up with a Nintendo, but she did. And she's like, "How about Yoshi?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah,
But since you love Pokemon so much, we
I
gave
do.
her a Pokemon name because we call her Spoo. Like, we call her Spoo all the time, but her Pokemon name is Spoodle Woodle.
Cute. I love that. That's a good name.
So those are my girls. They're nutballs, and I love them. Both terrier mixes, both very small, both little crackheads.
Well, hey, that's all you can expect from little terrier mixes. Those
Do you
crackheads.
have dogs?
I did. I've grown up with
Any
dogs.
animals?
I do. I have 2 kitties right now.
Mhm.
My small dog that I did have actually died a year ago. Her name was Millie. And then I have Matilda, who's in my room right now. She's one who's made a screen appearance for one of my YouTube videos. I think it was my react video to myself on the cult, but I call her Tilly, aka Tilly Matilda, but she is technically named after Matilda from the movie Matilda.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's terrible.
she's a smart girl, and then there's Max, her brother, and they're both very sweet kitties, but they both have a lot of energy and
Mhm.
like to climb up walls like spider kitties, and they like to chase each other and bite each other randomly, and I love them both dearly. And yeah, I know my mom, because she is my roommate. I have no shame in that.
That's okay.
She has favoritism over Max, and Tilly is the one who gets the not favoritism from her, but that's okay because she gets the favoritism from me. Tilly is my golden child. Max is too. They both are, but Tilly's the one who gives me more attention, so
You love
take
them
that
as
as you
both
wish.
in different ways. It's fine.
Yes, like with Max, he likes to squish me and sleep on me. And with Tilly, she likes to start off that way and then go to my legs, and then she goes everywhere. And then she likes to stay near me. Like for every interview I've had her, she normally comes on my bed, or she'll walk across here and go to her favorite window. Or if I accidentally shut the door, which I've learned to never do and keep it open, she'll scream at me of "Let me in now."
I understand that. Yoshi is extremely vocal, and if like something is bothering her or she wants something, if
So, like,
I'm like, you don't have to scream about it. She's like, I do though. I do. And I'm like, cool, thanks. Let's let the whole neighborhood know that I'm like trying to dry your paws. And she's like, Mom, I don't like it. I'm like,
nothing like screaming.
I'm like, I'm not hurting you. I promise. She's like, but you're touching my toes.
Well, that's like scratch, scratch, meow. That's what
That's
she
nice.
does.
It's not active screaming.
No, but it is active scratching. Like from her kitty, spider kitty days, like she
Mhm.
can go higher than her brother. He weighs more, to nicely put it. Um, she's definitely the skinnier one and can just climb up. Like she could literally be like from Spider-Man. And I love Spider-Man too, but she could be
Same.
Spider-Man, but she's a spider kitty. So I tell her no spider kitty when I don't want her climbing up walls. No
That's so
spider kitty.
cute.
But yeah, I'm very close to my two children. I count them as my children.
How can you not?
Yeah. So technically I just have cat babies that are furry.
Same.
They
Okay.
yeah,
As I
they take a
say,
lot.
these are our dog tours.
The doctor.
Dog
The
tour.
doctor. I like that. Yes, exactly. See? And I used to have a third child, but yes, we'll eventually adopt a dog
Yeah.
again. I don't know when, but at some point this year, I do know that. That is as far as my knowledge goes.
That's
Because I do love all animals, and I don't do well without having lots of animals. I relate to animals.
they're very relatable and comforting. And Christoph was not wrong when he said reindeer are better than people.
Fully agree. I second that. Like, fully agree with that. That's a good song reference too. But
Sorry,
yes, it's
I
true.
I I'm a Disney as I have my Mickey necklace on. I worked at Disney and I love Disney, so I did the college program.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fun facts about Sammy. I love Disney too, but I'm more of on, at least as of lately, just on the Marvel side of Disney.
Hmm.
If it's like, I love Scarlet Witch
Hmm.
and the Spider-Man, and that's as far as it goes, at least superhero.
That's okay.
You try to
They're
make
the
me go
cool ones.
outside of that. No. Like Miles Morales specifically Spider-Man. I don't care about the white Spider-Man because they're not as cool as Miles Morales. Just
Mouse is a
saying.
badass.
Yeah, Miles Morales has the best storyline out of them all, period. I literally am fans of storylines. That's what I pay attention to. And he has the best storyline ever and speaks
Have you?
Spanish. Miles Morales is multi-talented compared to all the other Spider-Men. I
Yes.
mean, he is king compared to the rest.
Have you played the video games?
I have not. My I was gifted actually a Switch, and because I'm haven't my sibling and I grew up like fighting over gaming,
Hmm.
and they won most of the time. So uh yeah, I never was into games until I left the cult and was introduced to different communities on Twitch. So I'm working my way to gaming. Right now I have a kitty game and a Pokemon game, and I was just told by a group of people because I'm going to try writing an article and do my own review on a game so I can possibly get a position writing reviews on games for a crappy pay, but I would like to do some writing besides my books for a living too
Uh,
on top of YouTube. um, I'm gonna start trying to play more games. It's just a gradual process for me. Like I
it is.
started playing the kitty game. It's where you're pretty much like a kitty knight and you go
Oh,
talk to the village people. I've made it to two parts of the story so far. I do story games, that's it.
mhm. That's
I do
okay.
everything in my life is story oriented. If it's not story oriented, I'm not doing it. It's as simple as that. Like these are the games I have. So I guess Katria Fables, that's
Mhm.
one of the ones. And then Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
That one's a good one.
I've only started this one. I haven't played this one yet. And then there's a third one called Unpacking. that I'm looking
Well,
into getting
that's
so I
so
can actually
chill.
do and write a review. I don't want to just hear about, hey, this is a good book for you to write, not book, good game for you to write a review about. I want to play it and immerse myself in it too.
Mhm. I will say the one thing with the Switch, the Spider-Man games are exclusive to Sony.
Boo.
So they're
I
only
mean,
on,
no.
as of right now, you can get the first game and I think maybe Miles on like Steam maybe, which is um PC gaming. But you can't get them on Switch yet.
Boo, that sucks. Then I just
Yeah.
need to steal that from my sibling. They're gamers,
PS5
hardcore.
exclusives. It's Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and then Spider-Man 2.
I would only do Miles Morales. That's the only one I would do.
Well, Miles is in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
It's
I've seen on
Miles, Spider-Man,
Twitch
and
them.
Venom.
Oh, okay.
You get to
I
switch
need
between playing them. It's really cool.
I will absolutely do that. When it will happen is questionable, but I will absolutely do that. Just know that.
A hyperfixation on Spider-Man. It's not like I also love Miles, so.
Yeah, Team Miles all the way. And then, have you checked out Scarlet Witch? Like,
I've watched the TV show and in a few of the other stuff, but I haven't read any of the comics for her or anything besides that.
she is queer coded technically in the
Yeah.
comics. Like, I learned her history through fixation of an obsession with her due to WandaVision.
Yeah.
But yeah, she actually is queer coded, and she is technically from her time period, at least in the 70s. I think she was made. I don't know. No
Mhm.
quoting me on exact timeline, but she was the first queerish seeming Marvel character to
Mhm.
exist, at least in her time period. She had that impact because she is definitely not straight. And
No.
she, just saying, she's definitely not straight. Yes, she was made by a white cis male, but she's definitely not straight. But I like the fact that she's not a good guy or a bad guy. That's also part of what I love about her, and the fact that she is an actual mom,
Mhm.
hero, superhero.
The morally gray are the always some of my favorites.
Oh yeah. And I guess Miles Morales in the second one becomes morally gray due to the multiverse,
Mhm.
which also exists for Scarlet. I guess I like characters with multiverses. That's that.
Yeah.
I just noticed that theme within myself.
You
Because
like red
Scarlet
Venom.
Witch, multiverse. Miles Morales, multiverse. Well, Spider-Verse, but it's
Something
still
has
the
clicked
same
inside
thing.
of me.
Yeah, the multiverse. Just like with books, there is a multiverse of books. I could totally play with this continuously. Um, let's see. How do you feel, even though you kind of went over this, but I guess you can go even more. How do you feel as a reader slash influencer? Everyone can make a difference, like with the representation in books and just media everywhere.
Um, I think like I said, I think there needs to be more representation in general. Inside our community. It can't just all be white. It can't just all be um, you know, either gay or sapphic. There needs to be ace rep, there needs to be arrow rep, trans rep, non-binary rep, like across all minorities, again, across all genders, sexualities, like there just needs to be more. And that's full stop. Like there just needs to be more. And these shows, books, movies, what have you, need to not be canceled because there aren't the viewership. There are the viewership. It's just you're not marketing them. But as an influencer, can can I make a difference in this? Probably not. Like again, I'm just a footprint here, but I can make a difference to maybe my community. I have been very lucky with people like you who have followed me from the beginning, or have just maybe started following me and are new to my community. And those are the people who I know I can make a difference for, who like what I have to say, who are interested in what I have to say, and are like, hey, well, maybe I'm going to pick up a indigenous polyamorous book. Well, maybe I'm going to pick up a trans Peter Pan retelling. Maybe now, like, since I like, because I'm not going to make a difference in in like the mass general's life. But me as an influencer, I can make a difference in maybe one person's life. And I think that's good enough for me.
I feel like
And
you've done like thousands or more. At least that's just my personal opinion, that I feel like you've
I
done a lot
appreciate
more.
that. I mean, but I mean, I've talked to my wife about this and I've talked to my mom about this and many people in my family. if it stops bringing me joy, if I'm not happy, it's not something that I'd be doing. But I know that I can make a difference in maybe one person's life. Like, that's all that matters. As long as I'm bringing other people happiness and I'm still finding joy in it, that's what matters.
Exactly. And you're educating people too, at least for me personally, because when you are, I'm going to bring up cults because that's a forever recovery process in
Of
general.
course.
At least for me, first coming out and then dealing with toxic side of community. It was a breath of fresh air to actually be following someone healthy and going off of books that are representing everyone, because that's what I specifically look for personally when I'm looking for book recommendations, because I don't have that knowledge, as I'm also still learning parts of the community and learning language, because I've definitely gotten yelled at before for not using correct language, which was scary. So I
And
apologize anytime.
no, no, no. Well, first of all, I don't think anyone should ever yell at anyone. I think there's people are always learning. I'm always learning. There are people who are entrenched in the queer community who are still always going to be learning because things are always changing. We're always learning new things about ourselves, our community, the people around us. And you should never be yelled at for something that you've just learned or something that's new to you. If you're like being, I don't know, homophobic, transphobic, all the other X, Y's, or Z's, yeah, yell at them. But like, it's if you're learning, you're making an effort, and that's all that matters.
I am definitely still learning and digging my feet deep within just reading. I'm personally more of on the sapphic side. I will
That's
absolutely read if
okay.
there's a favorite author, which I do have. If she writes gay, I'm going to read it. But I'm
Yeah.
more of going towards sapphic. So when you do your recommendations, I hyper focus on sapphic or anything within that realm, or
Mhm.
comics, which I've had other booktubers, which for me, once I have same for a long period of time, it's hard for me to fully, my rigid side, fully get to new people. But thanks to my own YouTube channel, I've been having to push myself outside of more of that. And it's fun because then I can find sapphic and even trans. Like there's a really pretty, you'll probably know the name. It's a comic and it's definitely of the trans experience.
Mhm.
It's like Star something. It's one of the first books I actually read into. It's not a series, it's a standalone book. I have
It's
it.
about an alien species, right?
Correct. Yes, 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 yes.
Mhm. I know who
That's
it's by. Axelrod is the last name.
yes.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good, at least trans representation story that I've read. I have like one other book. I'm trying to get more trans rep too within my own collection because I definitely mainly go towards those who are not white. And
Well, if you
uh,
want a trans Peter Pan retelling, Peter
yes, please.
Darling.
Peter Darling. Okay, I need to add that. Peter Darling. You should see all my notes right now. I have like a lot of books
Well,
added
the
onto here
poly
besides that.
indigenous book I was saying earlier is also dragons, but it is 500 pages, I will have you know.
Oh,
So maybe not
no.
possibly, but that is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monocle Blackgoose, and also an absolute masterpiece of a book.
To shape. Still putting it down there. That one just might take me like a year to read, but
That's okay. The sequel is not out yet.
okay, thank goodness. Well, then I can hyper focus on what I'm currently reading.
You're like, how do you read so much? I'm reading 5 books right now. How do you remember them? I write everything down.
Oh wow, I like that. With me, I keep it up here. The only time I have to write down stuff is literally for interviews
Mhm.
and questions and stuff because that stuff I can't hold in my head. I can hold information about books and people. Yep.
I've been hitting I've had 7 major concussions, so, like,
Oh
I
geez.
have you seen, 50 First Dates?
Yes, I love that movie. I
Awesome.
have.
Okay, I'm a 10-second Tom. Like, you
Nice.
tell me something, you tell me your name, I'm like, "Yes, I've got it." 10 seconds later, "What is your name? What is this?" I have no memory of this place.
That's okay. Well, a good thing the interview is recorded. That's all I
So
have to say with that.
like, and then if it's a hyperfixation, I'm like, I know all of this information and I can tell you everything about it. That is it. Like, and then I'm SpongeBob. We all he knows is fine dining, and breathing, but we forgot his name.
It's hilarious. Oh my
That is, those are my 2 personalities. That's all I have. And obviously that's the end of the interview. No, I'm kidding.
The end. Bye, everyone. See ya. That would be an interesting way to end it. I have hyperfixation personality, and
Yeah.
then know every single fact and small detail about people that they don't want to know about themselves, and on top of the kids I work with during the day. And though technically that falls into my job anyways, but then yeah, I can literally do details in depth. And then when it comes to stuff that you're supposed to know details of, like important work of paperwork and stuff, I
Hmm.
don't pay attention to those details. So that's why I said all I do is books and people, and that's as far as it goes.
And that's
Like I
fine.
can't quote movies either. I can't quote anything.
Oh, I can quote movies. That shit sticks in my head.
I can't do it. Like that has to be so specific and so keeps my attention, just like
Hmm.
with a book too, or else has nothing. Unless I've watched it a lot, like Fried Green Tomatoes. I'm trying to think of something else. Beauty and the Beast. Um, The Last Raya and the Last Dragon, which is one of my
I love
favorites
that one.
ever.
Speaking of queer-coded Disney characters.
Here we go. Yeah, but it's so well represented, and
Hmm.
I'm obsessed with that movie. I've
Yeah.
rewatched it. It's a comfort film of mine. I will literally go to it and rewatch. Just like Drives Me Crazy, I rewatched last night, but that has zero queer code to it. Well, actually, it does have some, considering its time period. But have you seen Drive Me Crazy?
Yes.
Yes, there is a little queer coding that I didn't realize because I rewatched it last night and only skipped over the parts I can't stand.
Hmm.
But there is some queer coding in there, and I never realized how blah 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 it was. But it's very talk 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 talk.
Yeah.
I can't do that stuff. I literally have to watch mainly cartoons. That tends to keep my attention. I can't watch real people unless the plot line continues fast within 5 minutes. That's literally my attention span range. It has to be within the first 5 minutes. If it's not, I
Hmm.
can't do it. So like Drive Me Crazy, I can do certain parts of it because it's within 5 minutes something new happens.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, it's blah blah blah. Sorry, I thought of that. And see, it wasn't a guarantee I wasn't gonna say sorry. I can
Okay.
track myself too. I do that to keep my attention somehow.
Oh,
Um, Welcome to me, Sammie. I don't hide anything, even on a recording.
that's
You can.
neither do I. It's all out there.
There we go. See, we both do it the same way. And I don't know if you have seen it, even in the docu-series, even though it is very well edited by Inbal
Mhm.
Lesnar, who she is, I believe. I don't want to say what she is, but she has immigrant background and speaks Hebrew. And I don't know what other languages she speaks, but I love her very much so. So I'm putting that out there of she's the editor, well, one of the head editors. If you check out my interview series of behind the scenes of Escaping Twin Flames, you'll get to hear some of her talk. She's really cool, but
Okay.
and a comfort human of mine. But yes, sidetracked. I just thought that was important because she she does fall in line. She's not technically part of the LGBTQIA community, but she
Mhm.
does have similar experiences still technically within
Yeah.
her own life. And she's worked her butt off to get to where she is. And she is got an award for our series. Well, her team and Mimi, who I will be interviewing near the end of the month.
Exciting.
Mimi and the rest of her editing team, something Lang. It's like 5 people or 6. Kevin something Hubbard. I don't know his last name. There's 5 of them. I'm trying to make sure to say it so they know. I know it's them together as a team. They won an award. It's an Eddie Award. I guess it's important. Cecilia told me it's important. So it's important. Um, and right now the docu-series is up for Emmy eligible, so it means hasn't been nominated yet, but for 3 awards it's eligible for, which is editing, of course, directing, so Cecilia, so it goes involves Cecilia, and then the series itself, so myself, the contributor, and everyone behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
That's
But
so
yeah,
cool.
I thought that was important.
It is important.
Especially because of the representation within that docuseries itself. So it's very exciting. I really want a season 2, so I keep on hyping that up publicly.
Mhm.
I had to take that opportunity.
Please don't ever stop taking the opportunity.
All right. Well, it's exciting because docuseries, well, eligibility. I cannot say nominated yet, but eligibility. I'm hoping that they
That's
vote
so
for us.
a feat in itself, in all honesty.
Yeah, and one award at least so far. The docuseries has gotten in editing, which is exciting. Go editing team,
Ooh,
involved and team, everyone involved. Mimi, all names. I won't remember everyone's names. All team, go team.
that's why people come up in the Oscars and they have those lists and they're like, let me thank the plethora of lists so I don't forget any names.
I would totally need that. I did do an award like that you see back here.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, I have another one from this same place, but I didn't go to the award thing because I felt like I guess I shouldn't publicly say that. But I got this award and another one from this same one, but it was for my poetry book of I guess song and poetry. It was a
Mm-hmm.
seasonal, this one's seasonal, and then I got an actual, I guess, second place an award. And I only have it on one of my poetry books, like the seasonal. I don't want to go through the process of putting the other one. So it's gonna just stay with showing at least this one on the book itself for those interested in poetry.
Poetry is not my thing, but I will say sapphic poetry is always my thing.
It does have sapphic in there, but it's a mixture of a lot of stuff in there.
I will say, so I don't know if you watch Bridgerton at all, but I recently, like in the last few years, have gotten into Regency romances or historical romances, and I'm like, I've always hated them, and then all of a sudden, I've like found these sapphic historical and Regency romances, and I'm like, why have I never loved them before? And I'm like, oh yes, I found out why.
Oh yes, that's funny. I've seen the advertising for Bridgerton, but I've never gotten into it. I did try watching the first episode, but within 5 minutes it lost my attention, so I haven't gone
Yeah.
back since. Just so you know, that's literally how it
It's
goes.
valid. I don't, based on what you've told me on TV shows, like it's not going to be your thing, and that's okay.
I tried though, because I wanted to try to fit in and be a part of the conversation with everyone, but I can't because I
It's
don't have the
okay.
attention span.
Also, just watch the like if you want to be in on the conversations, be like, I've totally watched the season. I watched the recaps and I know everything that's happening.
I could do that. That I have the
There
attention
you
span
go.
for. I'm gonna
What those
do that
recaps
now.
are for. It's like 3 minutes. What I need to know. Let's go.
I'm totally doing that. Thank you, Sammy.
Anytime.
Good advice. Good advice. And now the most important part of our interview. Are you ready? Let them know where they can find you so they can follow you and be a part of your book club. Go be a part of
So
Sammy's book club.
you can find me on every other than X. I do not do the Twitter, the X, the Twitter.
The
Um,
Twitter.
I don't do Twitter. I can't. That's one social media I cannot keep up with. I barely post on Threads, but every other form of social media you can find me on. TikTok is where I mainly post under Books, Dogs, and Coffee. YouTube, Instagram, you can find me Books, Dogs, and Coffee with a 9-1 at the end. And then more recently, I have started a bindery account, which is Patreon, but for bookish content creators. You can find me at binderybooks.com for that. It's completely free. I do have paid tiers on there, but please go to the free side because I understand not everyone can pay for anything in this economy.
There you go. That was
So
close.
free content. And then I also have my book club, Pause, Pages, and Brews, on Fable. It is an app. It's on iOS and Android, so you can join the book club through there. Again, we read BIPOC, queer, minority, any own voices, authors, every month, and we vote on which books to read.
And I'll also put it down in the description below. So
Yes.
some of those I'll actually have to get the link from you from because
Okay.
I do have some of those links already just because I follow
Awesome.
you, but some of those I definitely will need links to, but they'll be down below. Please be a part of Sammy's book club and just follow her in general, learn stuff. And we do the outro, which is, oh, I guess I should also add, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, whether it's positive or not. I say this for every video. Please
Whether it's positive or not.
leave a comment down below. It helps the algorithm. So you can even just say hi. That works too. Thanks so much for being here and embrace your truth, tell your story, and do tell your story because you all have a story to tell. And thanks so much for being here, Sammy.
Thank you, Jesse.